All right. What is your birth name?
Her name is Ernest, actually Ernő, E-R-N-O, and Hungarian has two things on top of the O, but makes it Ernő, makes it Ernest Gottdiener is my last name.
Okay. And what is your married name?
The same.
Ernest. Okay.
A Héber nem akarom.
My Hebrew name is Baruch,
Okay.
which means blessed, and I'm blessed.
What city and country were you born in?
Born in Hajdú Nándás, Hungary, Eastern Hungary, county of Hajdú. The seat of the county is Debrecen, it's the second city after Budapest, but I'm the northern part of the county. It's called Hajdú Nándás.
And what is your birth date?
October 13, 1920.
And did you grow up in that same community?
I was growing up in the same Hasidic family. My father was a follower of the Belt dynasty, and he was going to Galicia, it's Poland now. He used to go that with his rabbi once in a while. And I was brought up in a Hasidic way. But as time went by, I didn't become a Hasidic guy, I just was a regular guy.
Okay. Did you live with your entire family, parents?
Yeah, my mother and my father passed away in 1935. My mother became the head of the family and the head of the business.
Okay. Did you have siblings?
But me?
Did you have siblings, brothers and sisters?
Yeah, we were 8 brothers. I'm the last one, the youngest. I'm the only one who's alive from the brothers, and I have one sister. She's also with the Swedish Wallenberg paper. She's in Brooklyn, Flatbush.
Okay. What kind of schools did you attend?
I went to the school, it was obligatory to go to elementary school and then high school. Then I went to college, Debrecen. I attended also some schools in Budapest.
Could you describe the schools you went to? Were they Jewish? Were they secular?
A mixed.
They're mixed.
I was attending yeshivas in different places. The city, I give you the Hungarian names, Vác, that's north of Budapest. There is a small town called Verperét, that's the county of Heves. And then the rest one I went to was Fehérgyarmat, that's in northeast completely, but at that time was the Czech border, now it became the Ukrainian border.
Okay. And would you say you learned most of your Jewish customs and traditions from your family or from school? Or
From the family. My father was showing us as a child and etc. I was born 1920 to 1935. I was almost 15 years old when he passed away. That time we were crying, but no, looking back, I said, thank God he died, he didn't have to go to the Holocaust.
And what kind of activities were you already mentioned that
We were wholesalers. My family was wholesale wine and liquor and beer. So we were supplying almost the whole county and other counties with wholesale. We had trucks and cars, and we had salesmen, and we had a big business.
Okay. Were you involved in any activities before the war that had to stop as soon as the war started affecting your community?
See, the war was affecting us very badly because the Hungarians had a tendency to go with the Germans. And of course the press was also more pro-German, and this made the people also more anti-Semitic. And there was a prime minister, his name was Kálmán Dorányi, who was a city of Győr. He brought up the Jewish question the first time. This was 1939, 1940. And as my understanding was, the head of the Germans, the Nazi head was Hitler, as everybody knows, and the head of the state of Hungary was Nicholas Horthy. And he was asking for the Jews, and he told him, if you give me the Jews, my commerce will collapse. So he was a good way out of it, because Horthy knew very well if you give him the Jews, it means death to them.
Right.
So he was anti-Semitic, but he didn't go that far. And then, but one weekend in 1940 or 41, he summoned the whole Hungarian government with the head of the state to Berchtesgaden, was on the Austrian border in Germany, Bavaria, and that weekend the German army occupied Hungary. So that the government wasn't there, and it was successful there, the occupation.
When did you personally start noticing the first signs of anti-Semitism in your community?
Actually, my brother-in-law, who's not alive anymore, and maybe with kids, he was the one who heard about this Swedish Wallenberg name, and we found out that my mother's side, my name is Gottdiener from my father's side. My mother's side, my name is Handler. And there was one of my mother's sister married a certain Brody, and he had a son who was a professor in Stockholm. So we didn't have his others, we didn't have contact with him. We went to the main office, in the main post office in Budapest. We looked at the telephone book from all over the country. We found the Swedish one. We found his name there. So when we were applying for Swedish, it's called Schutzpass in German. It's called protection paper. It was written in Hungarian and in German. I have a copy of it here.
But when did you start hearing about what was happening to the Jewish people in Germany? Because we
We
understand.
heard bad news in Poland. So they had an excuse that the Polish government was shoot at them, at the Germans. It was a lie. The Germans went in, because there was retaliation, but it was a lie, and they destroyed first the Jews, but not utterly destroyed.
Do you remember what year this was when you started hearing?
The war started against Poland September 1st, 1939.
Right. When did you start hearing things?
I heard it right away in the radio.
Right away. What were your thoughts and reactions at that time when you heard all of this going
It was
on?
a very bad news because, Hitler became stronger and stronger.
Right. Did you believe it when you heard it? Did you believe that this could
I
happen?
had no reason not to believe it. I was very depressed when I heard it.
And what kind of changes did you experience? How did your life change? You said you were in college and
The
yeshiva.
Hungarian government was moving with the Germans more and more, closer and closer. And one day the Germans occupied Hungary. It was March the 19th, 1941. 42, I'm not sure which year it was. But remember, the Germans came in March the 19th, I think it was 44. I was already in, see what they did to the Hungarians, they made for the Jews, when they come to the time when it's 20 or 21 years and go to the army, they called them in the same way, summons, but they were putting them in a forced labor service. So I was called in, I went to the forced labor service, I can tell you the name of the town where I called in, it's called Püspökladány. It may sound funny for you, but this is the name of it.
Was he 41 already?
41?
Wasn't he 41 already?
No, I think it was later when the Germans occupied Hungary.
No, but you were called.
I was called in 41 and I got 1 year extension because I was attending school, and they gave me another year extension, but I was very lucky about it. My luck started there and then. Because when I go in next year with the 1921 people, the 1920s were in the front, and nobody, to my knowledge, nobody came back. Nobody made it back.
Right. And you already mentioned before that you come from Belz Hasidim. How did your religious, and you became more of what you said, a regular, from guy over the years, but how did your religious customs change during the war?
Actually, I became less religious. I was more religious with my parents because they were really extreme Orthodox in Hasidic, as I said before. So they wanted to me I should be a Hasidic guy, but I didn't follow it.
Because of the war, or?
I don't know what, just my inclination that wasn't there.
Okay. What happened to your family during the war? Were you guys separated?
My father died in 1935, but my mother, I was in the forced labor service when they made the ghettos later on in Hungary. And my sister was pregnant, and she went, she was in labor, and she gave to didn't have a hospital there, but they had just for people that are pregnant to give birth. I don't know how to say this in English. I know the Hungarian name is szülőotthon.
Okay, so a clinic, so to speak.
Like a maternity clinic.
Maternity
something.
clinic.
You heard this expression?
I'm sorry?
You heard this expression? I don't know what the German English expression is.
It's just it's
It's
a
helping
maternity
the woman
ward,
to-
but
Yeah,
yeah.
maternity. And my brother-in-law, who was with the father of this first child, he's still alive in America now. He had Gentile papers, and my sister, after that, she went to the Swedish embassy was helping Jews tremendously. Even she was in a cloister. I know how the name is a cloister, but the nuns are.
No,
Any?
no,
Not the nuns. And they went in an outskirts of Pest. It's called Steinbruck in English. Stonebrook. German name is Steinbruck, and the Hungarian name is Kőbánya. And she was there, and when it came 1944, October the 15th, I was on the Buda side of Budapest. It's two, Buda is on the western side of the city, and Pest is on the eastern side. The Danube is the dividing line. And I heard that October 15th was a Sunday in 1944, and the head of the state made a proclamation, since the Red Army entered Hungary, that he's giving up the war. Very sorry for the Germans, but he has no choice. The Red Army is in Hungary, and he has no choice. So we were very happy about it. The Jewish people were about 50, 60 Jewish men in this Buda side. And next morning was my turn to go to the barracks to pick up breakfast for the boys. Then I heard on the radio that the Germans arrested 40 head of the state, and they put in his place mostly the extreme Nazi called Szálasi. It was the 16th October, it was Monday morning. So I went out to breakfast, but then I decided I'm not going back. And I was very extremely lucky, because every corner they were looking for Jews. I made it, I had the address for my mother in this the nunnery in Stonebrook. My mother and my sister was, and I got there, and nothing happened to me. I arrived there. But then this was October 44. And we heard the Russian army was closer and closer. We heard the war was coming closer and closer. This was the eastern side of Budapest. And the nuns were asking us we should leave. So since we had the so-called Schutzpaper for protection paper from the Swedish ambassador was a certain Danielson. And here is a copy of the paper. It's written in German and Hungarian. It's the protection paper, my name, and I'm about to make, maybe I suppose this is good 14 days after arriving to Sweden. This was in a way a passport. And so I decided that 44 October 16th, I decided not to go back to this place. I went to my mother's place, to the Stonebrook, called in English, and there was about 50, 60 Jews hiding, and there we survived the war. I mean, after when the Russian army came closer and closer, the nuns were asking us we should leave. So we went into Budapest, was the 5th district, where the Swedish embassy had houses. These were called the protection houses. The way it was a very, very interesting, conflicting things going on, because the Swedish government didn't recognize this extreme Nazi government. because of that, the Nazis didn't recognize their houses, our houses, so they came in sometimes with guns and took a lot of Jews out and killed them.
Right.
So one day they came there, it was, I don't know, maybe December of 44, and he says the whole house has to come down.
Who said?
It was,
that?
I don't know how many stories there was, about 6, 7, 10 stories, I don't remember. And the whole house had to come down. I remember my sister had a baby. She had to put the baby in a stroller, and she came down. And just happened that the previous day, my brother-in-law, who also had these protection papers, there was a certain hours we could go out from 2 to 4 or something in the afternoon. So he didn't make it back. He was we had an idea where he went to. He couldn't go home, so he slept over. But next morning he came over, and somehow when I came out from this, we were supposed to go in line. I didn't go into line. I just made it and went out.
You just left the safe house.
And then we were looking when we were following the group. We were going to the Nazi headquarters. And we were afraid they were going to destroy these people. That was my mother and my sister. But somehow my mother and my sister also escaped, but we weren't aware of it.
Did you ever find out how?
You know, they escaped and then we went somewhere else. And next morning I was sleeping by a friend's house near the East Railroad station. And then next day we went back and we found in the ring in Budapest army was asking for papers. We showed them the Swedish papers and they saluted us. They just didn't prepare this was something international stuff. And we made it home and we made it back, and the Swedish put us on another house onto the basement. This is the basement where we got liberated in the middle of January. The Red Army came in and liberated us.
Right. A couple of questions about the Schutzpass and the safe houses. How did you come to hear about Raoul Wallenberg? How did you get the Schutzpass, and how did you make it to the safe houses?
Safe houses, we heard about them and we got the papers.
How did you get the papers?
When we applied for it, we gave them that our cousin lives in Stockholm.
Right. And who told you about Raoul Wallenberg that he was
my brother-in-law found out about, I don't know how. We heard it about it. We applied for it, we found out about this address exactly to the telephone book, main post office, and we applied for it and we got it.
Did you ever get a chance to meet Raoul Wallenberg?
Not really.
Not really. Did you see him?
I think I saw him once.
Can you describe his personality, what he looked like?
Very active, very good-looking gentleman.
Old, young?
He was middle-aged.
Middle-aged. How would you characterize middle-aged? 30s, 50s?
30, 40, 50.
Okay.
30 and 50.
All right. And you believe that he directly saved your family with these Schutzpasses?
I mean, it was written in German and Hungarian. We're under their protection now, and it's going to be a collective passport, and we are going to go to Sweden. And this is valid till we arrive to Sweden. In 14 days after, it's not valid anymore, these papers.
Right. When you got to the safe houses, what do you remember about them? Was there a Swedish flag? What was
Swedish flag was there.
Okay. And
Yes.
did Wallenberg also maintain, we heard that he ran an orphanage and hospitals. Did you see or
I
hear
heard
that?
he was there because they didn't have enough trains. The Nazis, they were taking the Jews by foot toward west, toward Vienna. And then he went there and he was giving everybody papers who could just... he's a man unbelievable.
You mean at the last minute he was just handing
He
people
was just
papers?
trying to help, and I couldn't imagine a human being can do that without any compensation, just as a... I don't know, he was a Gentile, he wasn't Jewish, and we couldn't believe that a man can do that.
Oh. How did you, Raoul Wallenberg, did you know how he maintained all of these things? Where did he get the workers for this, the money, clothing,
I
food?
mean, somebody must help them from America or from Sweden, through Sweden. And as I heard some news that there was a leading German general in the city, Budapest, who told them he wanted to destroy the ghetto. Told him, if you do that, I will see to it that you will be destroyed after the war. So the German general didn't do it.
And do you remember getting food when you were in the safe house, and do you remember where it came from specifically?
I don't remember the details. I cannot tell you about the details. But we had food, I don't know from how. We got food, I don't know from them or somebody else. I was practically a young man and I wasn't interested in the details.
Right. You mentioned before that the Nazis would routinely just go into the safe houses, even though they were quote-unquote safe, and take Jews. Did you remember any stories that happened by the Danube River? Anything that happened with Jews there?
I know that we were in the Cotton House, so 25. This house has been liquidated. And I described before, we went, the whole house went toward the headquarters of the Nazis. I myself was several times, I believe 8 times, by the Nazis. They were collecting me. And I escaped all the time, every time God was with me.
How did you escape all of these times?
I mean, you know, I remember I was in one of the houses and we don't know what's waiting for us, but it felt very bad. And luckily I spoke German. So when suddenly the German sergeant showed up there and carrying a typewriter. So I told him in German, "Kamerad, I would like to help you." And I took away his typewriter. So he let me have it. And he went out on the main gate. There was a Hungarian Nazi guard, because to the German it was a higher level. He saluted him, and I belonged to the German because I had his typewriter. So he let me also go. He didn't ask questions, I just went. Just an example.
That's truly incredible. Do you happen to remember any other stories of Wallenberg, how he found out about these last-minute Jews that were being marched off to the river?
He was unbelievably active. I know he had time even to eat or to rest, because he was just out to help.
Right. And what exactly happened to you? You kept mentioning that you kept escaping and that you were liberated in January 1945. What happened to your whole family after the war, your siblings?
My sister and my mother and my brother-in-law, one of my brothers who escaped from the forced labor service, he found out where we are. And after the war, in January, we were liberated by the Red Army. We didn't want to move there, but really winter was on. So we were staying there till beginning of spring, the break of the weather. We went back to our hometown, got back our business, and we stayed there till 1950. We got married in 1954, 55, something like that. Then we... 40, I'm sorry.
40.
Made a mistake.
45.
45. And this from 45 till 48. In 48 we got married. I got married. And very same month I got married in October 1945, 48, and in the next month, in December, we left Hungary for good with forged papers. We came to Vienna. Vienna was considered on the western side already. There was no Russian influence. There was some, because there was four armies there. There was American, British, French, and Russian. And every month a different state was in charge. So when we arrived in December in Vienna, also with the forged papers, was a whole story. This was in December 44, the 45, the Red Army, the Russian one in charge in the first district. And we came with forged paper, then we went to the British zone, they gave us papers, and we got back our name, and we were sitting in Vienna almost 10 years till we got American visa, immigration visa.
And during that time, before you went to Vienna, you said when you went back to your hometown, were you able to reestablish the liquor and beer business?
Yeah, we got doing pretty good business.
That you were able to get work permits and everything?
No problem.
No problem.
We made a lot of money there.
And
we were young, we were active.
right. Another question about Raoul Wallenberg. If he were sitting right here today, what would you say to him?
I don't know, I would get emotional. He was an extremely special good man.
Anything you would say to him? Or
I would just kiss him from all the sides. I didn't know what to do with him. I would say, stay with me.
yeah.
I heard he went ahead because the government couldn't establish himself in Budapest. So the Hungarian, the Russian were active in eastern Hungary when the Russian army came in there first. It was a city called Debrecen. This is the second city after Budapest. And they established the pro-communist government there. And then he went to the Russian quarters to greet them, and since that time we didn't hear from him no more.
So that's the last,
That's
you
the
know.
last we heard.
Were there any, what were the rumors that people heard
It's
about?
the rumor that the Russian took him, and the Swedish government was trying to intercede, but they didn't manage. Even after the communism was over, they tried to do something to find out what happened, how it happened, why. And there's nothing clear yet, as yet. I would be very happy to hear from him what happened with him, because for me, Wallenberg means a lot.
Exactly. Is there anything else you would like to share with us?
Wallenberg was something special.
I can imagine. That's why we're here. Is there any other stories that you remember that you want to share with us?
You know,
Anything?
yeah, he was every day very, he needed, he was there.
I want to ask something. Can you describe how was like a regular day at the safe house? You know, what would you do? Because I know you were mostly confined in one space, kind of like
Could you
waiting.
repeat it, please? I didn't hear it.
Yes. What was a day in the life of Ernest Gottdiener in the safe house? From morning till night, what did you do?
We were very poor because we we got barely a radio that wasn't allowed. And if we had a radio, we tried to get from the western side something that's going on, because at the time they should beat up the Germans.
Were you allowed to leave the safe house, or it was too
At
dangerous?
certain hours we could go.
And you had to wear the yellow
we were
stuff?
just praying we shouldn't get caught.
How did you guys meet? Did you meet in a...
We met in Hungary. Just happened that he was there's a city called Miskolc, and there's near the city is a resort place.
It's more so
And
a resort place.
She
We
was
went in the
meeting
summer.
yet. She went with her parents there. My mother happened to be there. So I was visiting Friday after work. Somewhere afternoon, I went there to visit my mother. Next morning I found out there is a place where there's Jewish service. I went there. I found her parents and
It's a small hotel, a very small hotel, kosher
kosher hotel, and we had a service there. I'm a Kohen, you know what a Kohen is? So they called me up, and after the service, they had some kind of a Kiddush. I was introduced to at the time she was my wife, she was there, and we liked each other. We had a afternoon a walk. Next weekend I came again every weekend a few times. And then she went back to Budapest, and I was following up in Budapest with her. I was asking her hands or whatever you call it, and
We met in July, and in September we were already engaged.
and
And in November we got married.
remember the second we got married.
went very, very fast.
In 48?
44, 48.
Yeah, 48.
Yes.
It's truly an amazing story. Thank you so much for this, and we know.
Actually, we just, the whole, after the Holocaust, the Germans thing, we just tried to build up. It was like just 3 years, from 45 till 48. But then we saw that under the communists, you don't want to live there. Things are getting worse and worse. So then we left.
You know, I figure sooner or later I'm going to be in jail if I stay there.
With all these fake papers, different papers for different countries, a million of them.
Schutzpass.
Yeah,
It
somebody.
is written in German, SCH, Sweden. I mean, nobody who speaks in America, very little people speak German.
No, very
So
little.
the German is the Hungarian side. The stamp and the things here, and this has been, at that time I still had my original. But one day I had to go to the police, they captured me, showed them the papers, they took the papers apart and they hit me. And then they threw me out, and then I was living in the police station. It's the 6th district police station, and I was about to, we're supposed to go to, you know what the Gestapo means? Means actually Gestapo has a meaning. You have a piece of paper. Yeah, G means geheim, means secret in English. And STA is state, in German also state, Staat in German. And PO is police, geheim, means secret police, secret state police. That's what the German meaning of Gestapo is.
I never knew the meaning of the word. I just
Yeah,
knew
me
what an
either. I
SS
knew-
officer is. And
Yeah, that the word, the
Horrible
German
things.
police, but I didn't know the meaning.
It's the secret police of the Germans. And SS, you heard about the SS, means also some secret service, some SS. Like in German, it comes
Right.
out the same thing.
Yeah.
In English, secret service.
And what about the arrow cross?
And
The arrow cross?
Arrow cross is called the Nyilas in Hungarian. You know, they had like that, same thing I showed you here. See, in Hungary was a law that it was against the communism. You cannot have a sickle and things what the communists think there. So they couldn't have Germans either. So German things was like that.
Swastika.
This is the Hakenkreuz in German. In Hungarian, we had similar things, but this was called the arrow cross. A similar thing, but they were called the arrow cross.
So this was a Hungarian version
Hungarian
of the
with the
swastika.
Nazis,
How are they different from the Nazis? Were
not too much different.
they were just as bad?
They are very bad.
So when the Nazis were doing things in Germany and Poland and the rest of Europe, in Hungary,
The Nazis did a lot of killing Jews.
and what about the Hungarian arrow cross? The same.
It was the same thing as the Nazis.
Okay, the other thing I wanted to ask you is, you mentioned your brother-in-law was also saved by Wallenberg.
He was the one who was more involved in getting the papers. He was going to the places to listen to what's going on. And he was. I don't know if he met Wallenberg or not, but he certainly applied. There was an embassy in Budapest, and he applied there.
Somebody else?
There was even a brother of mine who was taken by the Russians and took him to Russia, the whole unit.
Did he make it out?
And he had also papers. He applied, my brother will apply to put his name.
Okay.
In the war.
Three brothers got lost, the other one,
So after the war, still five survived.
I'm 86 going 87 now, and another year I'll be in October, I will be 87 God willing. And Lisa's son will be bar mitzvah October 13th, is also my birthday. And he's supposed to be the bar mitzvah in Miami. I hope I can make it.
I hope so too. God willing, that would be amazing. Are there any other siblings you want to write down their names?
My mother, she died here in the United States in Brooklyn. So Ernest Gottdiener was my mother. Her maiden name was Handler. But Mrs. David Cass is still alive. This is my sister.
Maybe Arlene.
She's no Arlene.
Gorda or what?
And where does your sister live now?
In Flatbush.
Oh. Oh.
I give you her telephone number. You want to contact her?
Please.
That would be great.
Amazing.
Maybe she can tell you, her version from the thing.
Of course. She
Sure.
also had a baby, and it's definitely different. Where were you from originally?
Budapest.
Or Budapest also. But your family wasn't a Wallenberg family, so
No.
No. Have you heard from Kastner group? Kastner?
There was a certain Hungarian
The
Jew in Transylvania. You know, Transylvania used to be 1,000 years hungry after World War I. So the Hungarians managed to be with the Germans also. They lost the war, thank God. Then the second war, they went again with the Germans.
One could say that Kastner was a Jewish Wallenberg.
Mhm.
He saved
He
a
worked
lot
with the
of
Germans
Jews.
and they bribed them.
so you guys both had
He
heroes.
was negotiating with the Germans that
How we can save you, you Jews.
that he would bring up a lot of money, and then that time 44 was toward the end of the war, so then the Germans were already in big trouble. They needed medicine, they needed trucks, all kind of things. So he was negotiating, when you save people, you give me people, Jewish people, I give you this and this and this. So the Germans agreed in 700 people would be taken to Palestine, they said. And we went with
Someone
this group.
became 1918 on that song.
That was the Jewish consul. You know, when things were getting bad, then there was a Jewish consul who were like between the Jewish people and the Germans somehow. And my father was very active. He heard that there is they tried to put together such a group. It's really mostly the idea. Kastner was a very big Zionist. So his idea was really to save a lot of Zionists and get them to Palestine. But they didn't have the money. So they put it together about the group was half Zionist and half of the group was people who were able to give money. So it was like per head you had to give like, now you would say $100,000 or something. And for a child, 50,000. But nobody had this money, so
It's Hungarian money.
for my sister, for my mother, all the jewelry, whatever they had, or we had hidden away gold, everything.
And the gold train
they
came
took
to
to
Germany.
the Jewish council and they gave it to the Germans. And so we were put in this group. So we went, they played like we would be deported. So that was even before they made the ghetto in Budapest, because the ghetto was made, I think, later in the fall, and they took us away already middle of June. This group was taken together, this 700 people, and they said, we cannot take you in the wartime, we cannot take you straight to Palestine. First we will stop in Germany, and then slowly. The whole thing is very complicated. And you are interested, my nephew, who was a college professor, he made a lot of research about this Kastner group and how they negotiated and everything. It's such a file.
Egon Meyer, his name is not alive anymore.
Unfortunately. So then they took us, that actually it wasn't the German, Hitler wasn't supposed to know about this. Some big shot Germans were, I think, doing about this, getting the money and doing the whole thing like behind Hitler's back. And that's why they had to play it like they would deport us. We went also, they took us in the we call it the wagons.
The cattle wagons?
Yeah, the cattle wagons. So that's how they took us. So, and then it was all, you know, all these things were like on hairbreadth that you got through, because it was everything mixed up. Some were thinking that they are really want to destroy us. And then they got a new order. Oh no, these people are special people. Don't do it. Like, unfortunately, they cut off the hair from all the women. So they began to do that. And then they got an order, stop it, because this is a special group. I was so lucky that they didn't cut my hair. From some girls and women they did. So everything was so on the... and then they took us to Bergen-Belsen. We were in Bergen-Belsen. And after 3 weeks or 6 weeks, came some German and said, get out from the barracks, and they took, by ABC, 300 people. They are...
Let them go.
We are
Let them go
taking
to
them.
Switzerland.
So they were taking over to Switzerland after a few weeks. They were the luckiest. And then they said, we will come again and take again a small group, because we cannot take the whole group all together. Yeah. As I said, you know, because it was in secret somehow. So, but then they couldn't get through 6 months. So we were suffering there 6 months. But after 6 months, even it was still during the wartime, and it came an order, they gave us some food and thing, marching to train. And that was already regular train.
Regular trains.
And they put us over to Switzerland, even in the...
All the Hungarian paper. That's my birth certificate in Hungarian. This is another paper, but written. This is the Schutzpass, and this is the other side where the ambassador, the Swedish ambassador, means Kingdom of Swedish, Gesandter means in German ambassador. Actually, the ambassador was a legacy at that time. It wasn't called ambassadorship. It was only the bigger cities. Hungary wasn't regarded as a big country, so they gave Gesandter, that means legacy.
Mm-hmm.
Das ist die Signature. Die größte Gesandtschaft übereinstimmt. Das ist the same as the original. September 18, 1944 is telling you Budapest.
Let me do this.
My picture there.
That's what I meant. This is very...
It's the same thing, but it's a bit nicer picture.
From
I know you, but I
copy.
cannot recognize me. I don't think she's recognizable. You have to have an ID card. This is my wife's, and this is mine. This is my wife's.
Yes. Wow.
This is me.